What's up, everybody? Thanks for watching Car Inside. C-Fix heads up to Daytona this week. And that means it is time for another qualifying breakdown. Alright guys, qualifying lap here is pretty simple. The hot lap is going to be on the first lap of the qualifying run. Coming out of the pits, just jump straight up to the wall, run the top through 3 and 4. I'm actually using a 16:1 steering ratio, got my brake bias set to 65, which is generic for the race. I'll probably go about 60, just something comfortable for avoiding crashes and for pitting. But coming to the start-finish line, keep it up next to the wall and just start to turn in down to the bottom as you hit the start-finish line, building up that speed, tapering back up. Use this black seam as a reference. You don't want to pinch your exits of the corners. Back downhill, entering into turn number 1. But just don't pinch your exits and try to hold the yellow line. You'll scrub too much speed coming up off of 2. Just let the truck naturally gravitate up toward the middle of the track. Using this black seam as a reference, you'll kind of cross over it as you go all the way down the back stretch, but this is kind of going to be the point. You're running just the middle of the track and then tapering back down into turn 3. Just imagine you're going downhill, carrying as much speed as you can through 3 and 4. Coming up off of turn 4, just naturally gravitate toward that middle yet again. Don't scrub any speed. We dip below to 169 there, and then if you're brave enough, as you hit the start finish line, you can dip down below the yellow line. Just got to be steady and smooth with it. You don't want to jar the wheel too much, but that is a 52.299. Alright guys, qualifying breakdown is going to be a little different this week. Took some suggestions from the followers of Car Inside, and people want a little more in-depth look at Daytona, not just the qualifying, but how the race should play out, drafting, the unpredictability of this track, certain things to kind of point to and show you guys some wreck avoidance and what to do in certain situations. But the word I just used, unpredictability, is going to be the biggest factor that plays into this super speedway. First and foremost, I'd like to thank a couple friends who helped us out this week. Brandon Byers, driver the number 13 F-150 in this video. He's a builder for EPI and all their dirt stuff. You can check those guys out. Tell Brandon that I sent you. John K, who's in front of us here, JK Gaming, YouTube and Twitch. And Ryan Dye, who's about to cause this complete chaos in front of us. That's State Line Sim Racing here on YouTube. But just when you think you can check up for a crash, netcode happens. Again, unpredictability. That's going to be a big factor this week. Alright guys, so one of the suggestions that I had this week was to go over wreck avoidance and try to explain the difference in when to know if you should power through an accident or if you should just back off and check up to try to avoid it. And there's really no definite answer for that other than just situational awareness. If you're at the back of a pack and something stacks up in front of you and there's no one behind you, then just be quick on the brakes to avoid it. But if something happens directly in front of you and you have people behind you, then you know you're not going to be able to just check up. You could get run over from behind, and you just have to make a quick reaction. One thing that I've found, if anything happens in front of you and you can turn left, even if it gives you a 1x, do it. Because what that's going to do is increase your chances to actually finish the race. You're going to avoid all of this mess that's happening around you. And you may get an X for going through the grass, but you're going to have the ability to finish the race. It's not always going to be so cut and dry to know what to do in these situations. When I say to turn left, there's certain places on the track that gives you the big ability to do such a thing. Coming out of turn 4, all of that extra runoff area, going after the tri-oval, even using the grass like I did, and on the backstretch. But when you get in the corners, that option kind of goes away because you can really lose control when you slam off the apron trying to avoid these crashes, and if the track is clogged. But if you're in a situation such as this, you're at the back of a pack and something happens, nobody behind you, situational awareness, you see that no one's back there, you see that there's going to be an accident, check up, slow down, get through it. Again, I gave myself a 1x there, but I would rather finish the race and have a shot at winning and come away with 2, 3x because I ran through the grass a couple times to avoid an accident than I would to get a 4x and a meatball and lose all that safety rating. Even when things can get strung out at Daytona, it can still be unpredictable. This is another one of those situations where checking up may be the best option. You see a truck get this out of control, spinning like a top, nowhere to go. Poet didn't know it. Just check up. There's nobody behind me. Slow up. You know there's going to be a yellow. You're not going to lose any track position. And it's best to not just try to power through it and end up hitting the guy. Just slow up. There's certain situations, 99 out of 100 times, you can see something happening through your windshield and know it's going to bring out a caution. So best to play it safe and check up. The only time you should really try to power through something is if it's directly in front of you and you know that you're not going to be able to hit the brakes in a reasonable amount of time to avoid it. Knowing when to check up doesn't always mean you're trying to avoid an accident. It can also be in a situation where you try to stick your nose somewhere it doesn't belong, where there's not enough room, and you're that guy that takes out the whole field and makes an entire lobby mad at you. We've all been in those lobbies with those guys that don't quite know the basic etiquette of NASCAR racing and the yellow line rule here at these super speedways. They don't understand the risk that you're taking by going below there and how unstable it can make the truck. As Ryan is demonstrating here, you get a big run, don't know what to do with it. Don't be the guy that goes down below the yellow line and then tries to come back on the track and causes the big one. There's a wreck you've already seen from earlier that we were checking up for. This wreck was caused by Ryan, who knew what he was doing here. He was trying to be a very good example. But he's that guy that goes down below the yellow line. He was able to merge back up on track, but yet again, he dips back below the yellow line where he doesn't belong. And going into turn 1, he's not given enough room. And he tries to merge back up on track. Same way with John Kay, who's behind him. And it just creates complete chaos and takes out half the field. There's easy ways to avoid these types of incidents, and one of the biggest ones that I always see at these super speedways is those people that want to go below the yellow line and then come back up when there's no room there. If you're ever in this situation, one, you shouldn't ever be there on your own, such as the way that Ryan just forced himself there. But if you ever are and you're in this situation, there's plenty of room to back up and get back in line. Same with John. He has the whole track here behind him. But lift, and there's a lap car there, imagine that. But lift and get back in line. Don't come back up on track and cause something such as this. One of the things with plate racing that you have to understand, and it's one of the more frustrating things, is no matter what, there's certain situations that there's just nothing you can do. You can see here there was an accident in front of us and there was just simply nowhere to go, and you're going to find yourself in that situation and you're going to play it back and think, well, what could I have done better? And really there's no right answer. Here I did have a gap and I was shooting for that gap, probably going to get there, but there was a truck on my tail, and even though I didn't lift, he was carrying momentum faster than I was, and he didn't lift, and he pushes me into the truck down below me, and that just creates even more of an accident than what was actually going to happen there originally. So even if you look back at the accident with the 88 truck, he had someone on his tail. It just happens so fast that there's not always a correct answer for how to get through these incidents. Sometimes it's just going to happen, and it's very frustrating. One final example I'll use for wreck avoidance, and using the extra track that you have on the left side if you're down on the bottom and have the availability to use that, comes from our friend Brandon. Wreck happens really fast in front of him, no time to check up, he has people behind him, he just simply turns left, goes down off the track. Now of course he goes through the grass and gets an X, and he gets a little bit of damage, but there was nothing more really that he could have done there to avoid that accident. He had to react on his basic instincts, and he just about got taken out there. But it happened quick, turned left, tried to get away from it as quick as he could, and he lives to fight another day. Sure, he's got a little bit of damage, but if he stayed straight, tried to slow up, it could have been much, much worse. And we have John Cage just absolutely just plowing through the middle of this. Do not be this guy. You see this accident happen. You're so far back. You know there's going to be a yellow. I mean, there's trucks sitting in the middle of the track. There's nothing behind him. Do not be the guy that just tries to power through this, even though he successfully did it. Slow up. Do some of the things that I said earlier. Use my advice and just check up. Let the wreck happen, and don't try to be Superman, even though it might turn out being successful. So another thing that was brought up was, when do I go? Do I sit around, wait for the big one, or do we just get up there and race throughout the whole event? Well, it's very hard to give a definitive answer on this situation because it depends on the lobby that you're in and the situation that arises. You need to go into it and kind of have a game plan. If it seems like a lobby is very hostile and there's going to be an accident, then playing it safe may be your best option. Drop to the back, don't lose the draft. You don't want to give up the draft and then fall way behind, just lose all that track position and ultimately be away from the lead pack in case something doesn't happen. If it doesn't happen, then you're going to roll around outside the top 10 and come away with a disappointing finish and possibly lose some rating, even though you saved that safety rating for nothing because you didn't have the big one. So you need to weigh, just be very observant of the situation, see how people are racing, and if you feel like it's safe, then I say go for it. But it's unpredictable. Keep using that word. So it's going to be one of those things that you just have to gauge for yourself. Really can't tell you exactly how to approach that situation, but just be in the moment, have a game plan, have an escape plan if anything were to happen in the lead pack, something in mind like what I do, turning left if I'm on the bottom to get away, or if you're near the back of the pack, have enough space that you know that you can get on the brakes and avoid the crash that was in front of you. Have an escape plan, having a game plan, come into this knowing what you want to do and what your goal is, make things a lot easier and could help those reaction times when there's trouble in front of you. Alright guys, so the biggest thing to talk about this week is drafting. That's what these super speedways are all about. All these trucks are bunched up in one big pack. Now we all draft and work the draft on most mile and a halves, but it's extremely different when it comes to these super speedways. You should have a pretty good understanding of how to side draft. You don't want to get too close to the guy and create contact and cause the big one. But going through the corners, if you're on the outside, you kind of squeeze down and get as close as you can to the door of somebody, especially if they have a nose out ahead of you. Kind of draw them back to you. So that's something that I usually do. If I'm on the outside and I'm running door to door with somebody, I try to squeeze down right on the side of their door and draw them back. As you can see here, even though it is the AI, going into the corner, he will draw down to my door, kind of get close to me, get that side draft, and when you start going in the straight line, create a little separation and use it almost like a slingshot. Then he gets hit from behind. What a save, what a save. Oh, that's too perfect. We got to keep that in there. That's my buddy Brandon. Something happened. He got into the side of him. And that goes... There's a good example of holding your line. He drifts up, and that could have been a big one. So with side drafting, you kind of want to use the side force to hold the truck back that's next to you, not get too close. Netcode can be bad at Daytona. And almost get close, pull them back, and then create separation and kind of pull away. But you can really use the side force to help your truck carry momentum, especially if you're outnumbered in the draft. When it comes to drafting, don't slam draft the person that's in front of you. If you get a big run, lift as you get to their bumper. You almost don't even, it's called bump drafting, but in a way you don't want to bump them. You want to just push them. You can see here as I get to the rear bumper of Ryan, I'll slightly lift. Now if I get to his bumper late on the straightaway going into the corner, I won't even make the contact. I'll just stay off of him, try to get as close as I can and just carry that momentum through the corner. The best way that I try to bump draft is, as you see here, I'm going for a little side draft to get down on his door, pin him behind some slower traffic here. But as we draw back up to him here, as you can see, we had a lot of fun, a lot of lighthearted fun, goofing around, recording all this. But as you can see here, I'm getting to his bumper as we head into the corner. I actually lift a little to stay off of it, but I'm going to draw close and stay there. Now, being tucked up behind someone can create a major blind spot, and you cannot see what's in front of them. So you have to rely on them and their movements that they make to guide you in the right direction. It's best to be working this close with someone who is a teammate. But when you get in these lobbies, you're going to get paired up with random people, and 9 times out of 10 that is not going to be the case. So it's very difficult to predict what they're going to do. But it's a risk that you take, and just part of the racing that comes with these super speedways. As you can see here, I draw it to Ryan, going to give him a little shove. We get in the tri-oval, down here, lift just enough to get off that rear bumper. It's almost like there's a little air bubble there that just keeps pushing, even though we're actually not making the contact. Lifting right before we get to the corner, just don't want to be up on his butt, even though we are very close. Lifting now, full throttle, and getting to that back bumper. Getting to the back bumper, heading off into the corner. Enough separation. Gave him enough of a run with the push where we didn't have to lift. This is when you can really start turning some fast lap times. Now, another rule is if you're the third car in line, you do not want to push the pusher. You want to stay off of him, stay as close as you can, but do not start pushing this guy. You're just going to push him through the lead car and create chaos. That's our favorite words this week. Chaos and unpredictability. That is Daytona. That is C-fixed. And all the stuff that I'm saying can translate to the top series. You know, and I'm no expert when it comes to these super speedway races. I've won a handful of these things, and I'm not going to be the best guy to give you the advice that you need to go just jump into it and be successful. But these are personal tips that I use, things that I keep in mind for myself as I'm running these races. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that what I'm saying is the gospel, but I have found that some of these things have created some success for me in my iRacing career when it comes to running the super speedways. It's like I say every week when I do these qualifying breakdowns, it may not be the fastest lap you see, but hopefully it's the most helpful and relatable lap you see. Well, this may not be the best video you see on how to super speedway race, but hopefully it will be something that comes to a help to you and is relatable to your driving style. Show some more footage here of us just pushing Ryan. I have to say that AI done really well for this session. They're normally stubborn and just terrible to race around, but they actually done really good here at Daytona. They played into us and what we needed to do, made it a lot of fun. We had an absolute blast filming this video, a lot of lighthearted fun. Created a lot of crashes and just went out here and just raced around these guys and was aggressive as we could be. Just probably running a lot harder than we normally would in this scenario, in this situation. But as we show a little more of the drafting that we're doing here with Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and thank a couple people for everything that they do for Car Inside, W Energy, and the partnership that I have with those guys. If you ever get online, order some W Energy. If you're into energy drinks, check those guys out. Use promo code Car Inside. Bobby Anderson Racing. Find them on the SRN Speed Racing Network on YouTube. Those guys run all the top 3 NASCAR series. Bobby does a good job at helping advertise my channel, as well as my good buddy RJ over at NASCAR Report on Instagram. Does a good job advertising my channel. He's always a sponsor for me in the Venom Truck Series League. Does a great job, and I appreciate all he's done for me. Go check him out on Instagram, and if you do, be sure to tell him I sent you. And once again, a very special thank you to Mr. Ryan Dye, our teammate since day one here in the Venom Truck Series League. Someone that I got into iRacing and been racing with for a little over a year now. One of my best friends. As we cut through the grass, I love this replay. Ryan has got State Line Sim Racing on YouTube. You can check him out, like his channel, or subscribe to his channel, like his videos, leave a comment, let him know that I sent you. Brandon Byers, builder for EPI on their dirt stuff. Brandon's a really good dude, so big thanks to him. And last but certainly not least, Mr. John K, JK Gaming, JKAY Gaming on Twitch and right here on YouTube. Big thanks to those guys, my teammates in the Venom League, for helping me construct this video. Big thanks to all of you guys that support Car Inside, all you guys for all of what you guys do. Always liking my videos, giving me those views, leaving comments. Please leave a comment, give me some feedback on this video. I know it's not done too professionally, but had a lot of fun doing it. A lot of fun recording all of this stuff, and not to be taken too serious, but to get some points across, and had a blast. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully there's a couple things that you can pick up from this that I've said and sit here and rambled on about that you can take and learn from, and go have some success at Daytona this week and stay out of the big one. Hopefully you can come away with positive safety gains and positive iRating gains, but we know how that goes. As always, thank you guys for watching Car Inside, and we'll see you out on track at Daytona.